Welcome to Garden Valley Church Podcasts. We are so looking forward to having you join us today.
So since they failed to kill him, do they starve to death?
I hope so. I don't know.
Okay, those little things just pop out at me.
There's the logo.
Stop it with the logo. Hi, welcome back to A Study in Acts. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Brian.
And he's obsessed with the logo
right
in the
there.
bottom corner of the screen, just so you know. I don't know what's wrong with him. Anyway, stop it. He's distracting me this morning. So we are in chapter 23, and we're going to jump on over to verse 12, and we're going to go through a section here. In my Bible, it's called A Plot to Kill Paul.
So to bring us back up to speed where we just stopped,
Yours says the same thing.
Yeah, Paul has been detained. He's not been formally arrested following a riot that broke out when he was in the temple in Jerusalem. They're trying to sort it out. They can't get it sorted out. While they're waiting, Paul is being detained in the barracks.
Yeah.
Can't go home.
That's what Paul's
But he's not under arrest because he's a Roman citizen and they have to sort it.
Yep.
So while he's there, a plot hatches.
The plot thickens. So the Sanhedrin has had a day or so now, and so they've been plotting and planning, and they are going to kill Paul. So they come up with this plan.
Because again, remember, they actually have no charges because this riot happened. They made all these accusations. I think they figured out at this stage of the game that Paul actually committed no crimes.
No, he did not.
So this is not so on a governmental side.
He's a Roman citizen.
Yes.
So Rome's not going to do it.
And he committed no crime. He did nothing wrong. However, they did, because rioting is criminal. You can't do that in the Roman world. And so they actually have launched all of this, the hatred, the bigotry, all the stuff that came out of the last couple of sessions. They launched all of that at Paul, and then found out that Paul actually did nothing wrong. And he's a citizen. And
he's like Teflon.
So he's
now
legally, he's okay. If he presses it, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And so they come up with, okay, we got to get rid of this guy. We got to fix this.
So his nephew, it says Paul's sister, the son of Paul's sister. Well, the son of Paul's sister would be Paul's nephew.
Correct.
So Paul's nephew finds out about it. He comes and he's like, hey, Uncle Paul, they're planning this. They're going to kill you. And so Paul sends him to the tribune. Thank you. I want to say triune count. To the tribune. And tells him, this is what's going to go on. This is what's happening. And so
they're going to petition Paul. The plot is they're going to petition Paul to come back before the...
They're going to petition for Paul to come back.
They're going to petition for Paul to come back and have another hearing. On the way to that hearing, They
got 40 guys ready to off him.
Yeah, he's going to be assassinated and all doing all that. Well, that does not work for the tribune.
So they had taken an oath not to eat or drink until they had killed him.
Yes. They're in trouble.
So since they failed to kill him, do they starve to death?
I hope so. I don't know.
Okay, those little things just pop out at me. I'm thinking, did they die? No, I don't think that they were strong enough in their convictions. I think they ate and drank.
The problem is 2 years later, spoiler alert, 2 years later, these same people are going to have this same plot. And so they're much thinner now, but so that's coming.
Oh my goodness.
But the problem is also a solution. because the tribune now has a way to solve this problem without having to figure it all out. What do I do? There's no charges against this guy, but if I release him, these people are going to go nuts. If I give him to these people, he's a Roman citizen, they're going to do something abusive. I'm going to be responsible for him. And the government's going to,
nobody wants that.
The tribune, remember, he's the liaison between these three different groups. Okay, well, now he's in a vice between all three of them. Because if this isn't handled right, he's stuck in the middle. And so he's got the answer he needs in all of this, because number one, he can't allow Paul to be assassinated.
No.
He's a Roman citizen that has been placed in the care of a tribune. So he's got to see to Paul's safety. He's got to not have another riot with the religious folks. So he finally has the answer he has, and that is he dials up the army, the centurions.
He had no phone.
He didn't?
No.
Whoa. Anyway, he dials up the phone, calls the army guy, and he says, okay, gather a detachment of soldiers. This guy's getting out of here. And in the middle of the night, so that you don't have any trouble, you're taking him to, he's a Roman citizen, you're taking him to the Roman governor.
At 9 tonight, he's
Yeah,
going.
as soon as it's good and dark and everybody's gone home and is settling in at home with their blankies, you're going to load this guy up and you're going to get him out of town.
He even gets his own horse.
Yes. And
Provide horses for Paul so that
Yes.
he can be taken safely to Governor Felix.
and get him out of town, get him into the he's
Out of
a Roman,
Dodge.
get him out of Dodge into the care of the Roman governor, and let them worry about him. I'm done with this problem, and we'll make him the governor has problems. He's not squeezed. I'm squeezed. I'm getting him off my plate. And so off he goes. So what ends up happening in that is it goes exactly according to plan. They gather up a big group of soldiers.
It is 200 soldiers.
Yes, it's 2 centurions.
70 horsemen and 200 spearmen. They're taking this very seriously.
They are. This is not a. I mean,
he gets his own horses. He gets a good.
I mean, this is a small army.
Yeah. But there's 40 Jews starving to kill him.
And the whole Sanhedrin, which is the Jewish government, essentially wanting this guy gone.
And they're not sure because these religious zealots can be unstable. They riot at the drop of a hat. They throw dirt in the air. They tear their clothes. They gnash their teeth. They were in a fist fight.
Yeah, so our soldiers do
Poetic justice there. No fist fighting, just one slap.
So they do what good soldiers do, which is exactly what they're told.
Yeah.
And they gather him up, and particularly good Roman soldiers. Discipline is what they were known for.
Yep.
They gather up Paul and his little group of cohorts, because he's a citizen. He's not been arrested. So he has to have somebody that sees to his care. We're going to see that as we go through, because a few of Paul's friends are traveling with him to see that he's okay. And so they gather Paul up, and whoosh, by night, off they go. When the Sanhedrin wakes up in the morning, Paul is gone, the soldiers are gone, and the proconsul, well, where did he go? Or the tribune, where did he go? He went to the governor. Take up your problem with the government.
So it's Claudius Lysias, I think. I don't speak ancient Greek, but that's as close as I get. Lysias?
It would be Latin.
I don't speak that either.
No.
So no matter what, I don't speak this. Claudius I'm pretty good with, but his other name not so much. But
Claude sends him out of town.
And he sends a letter, and he did tell the Sanhedrin that they would have to send their guys to Caesarea to bring the charges, because he says in his letter, I can't find anything wrong. As far as I can tell, this guy's done nothing, And he hasn't broken any Roman laws. I don't know their religious laws, so they're going to have to come and talk to you themselves. So Paul ends up in Caesarea, and his cavalry goes back, and
all the soldiers go back to where they are. And the problem for the
Governor Felix,
the problem for the tribune and the problem in Jerusalem is now over.
It's gone.
This is now a Roman problem.
We've sent it to Felix.
It's gone to court.
And you can go through and research Felix.
Yep.
And he's a real person. Claudius, he's just in the Bible. He's just that guy.
Yeah, he's not a high enough. Like I said, he's like a
history book.
He's a local councilman, so he doesn't make world history.
Yeah, but you can, Felix was a real guy, a real governor.
You can learn about him if you want.
Really taking place. If you go through Roman history or Jewish history, you can find this in their histories. Ananias, like I said, he was actually killed by an angry mob because he was pro-Roman. Again, the Bible is not just stories made up. These are people. These are things that actually happened for real.
And you can cross-reference a lot of them.
So now he's just in Caesarea waiting for Ananias to come. Takes Ananias 5 days to get there. Well,
they've got to talk to the lawyers and make the travel arrangements and do the whatevers.
So they brought their charges against Paul, and we've enjoyed a long period of peace under you, and your foresight has brought about reforms in this nation. So he's buttering Felix up. You're a good guy, Felix. We've been friends. We've gotten along.
So let's back up for just a smidge. So more political backstory. So Caesarea, Felix, all of these, yes, you can look them up and you can do that. What is Caesarea? Where is Caesarea? What are we doing here? So again, remember the Romans came in and they conquered the nation of Judea. They conquered that part, made them subject. Okay, so the Jewish people considered Jerusalem their capital.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where the Sanhedrin is. That's where all of this is happening. The Romans don't. So when the Romans take over all of this, the Romans, being political military minds, they come in and they say, okay, well, we need a capital that suits our governmental style. It's not built around a temple. It's going to be built around a governor and courts and things like that. It's going to be built.
Is it a seaport?
It's a seaport. We're going to build it around military stuff because that's what they
were military people.
So they need a seaport so that they can get soldiers and supplies and military in and out and all of these things. So you can look it up. So sometime when they came in and started doing all of this, they took a seaport and made it into a Roman outpost. This is the Roman capital for the Judean province under the Roman Empire, and they named it after Caesar, Caesarea, and that is where the Roman governor lives. This is the Roman capital of this region of the whole province. So the Romans do all of their business out of Caesarea and not Jerusalem. So they send him there to Caesarea. It is, if you look at it on a map, Jerusalem's kind of in the southerner part of Israel. You got the Sea of Galilee, Nazareth, Capernaum, all of those places where Jesus did a lot of stuff in the Gospels. Up in the northern part, Caesarea is on the coast in the middle. Okay. And so that's where they go. That's where the governor is. So this guy is Felix, is the appointed governmental ruler of the whole province, the whole land of Judea. Politically answers to him. He makes the decisions and sends that information on to Rome. He's Roman. He's the Roman guy. He's the boss. And so they send, that's where Paul is. It's a a day or so journey from Jerusalem, and it's out on the coast, and it is essentially a Roman city in the Jewish land.
Yeah.
And that's where Felix is, and he's the guy.
So the trial starts, and they start buttering Felix up. We've been getting along with you. We've been doing what we were supposed to do. And then this troublemaker came along, and he started stirring up riots. He's a ringleader with the Nazarenes, and he's tried to desecrate the temple. And you're going to find out that what we're saying is true. These charges are valid, and blah, 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 blah. And the other Jews joined in, and they said, yep, what he's saying is true. Woo! And so then the governor gives Paul opportunity to speak. And Paul just says, you can verify. I came to Jerusalem 12 days ago, and I was in the temple with my friends talking. There was no riot. There was nothing going on until these guys came, and I've done everything that I needed to do.
I didn't profane the temple. Nope. I didn't break any of the laws. In fact, it's not hard to verify that I have been following the laws for my life.
Well, and even here, he had done the cleansing with the four and had shaved his head and did the ceremonial. He was following everything that they laid down.
I didn't bring anybody in. They didn't find me with any contraband. I didn't do anything wrong. I was there. I was going to church. And these people came in and started a riot.
He says, I worship the God of our ancestors as a follower of the way, which they call a sect. So, you know, I am part of this group, this sect, the ones that follow the teachings and believe in the resurrection of Jesus. And so, you know, but I haven't done anything wrong. And he lays it out very eloquently. For time, I'm not going to read it all. No. And then it says, but Felix, who was well acquainted with the way, adjourned the proceedings and said, when the commander comes, I will decide your case. So now we have to wait for the Claudius, the tribunal, to come. And so they hold him. Several days later, Felix came, though. I like this. So Felix, the governor, brings his wife, who's a Jew, to meet with Paul and listen to as he spoke about faith in Jesus Christ.
Well, in some ways, though, this kind of makes sense. Again, we talked that Paul doesn't sneak in and out of towns anymore. No. Paul is a celebrity. Paul's a big deal. He's been all over what would now be Turkey, Greece, this whole area. He draws thousands of people when he comes to speak.
So that was probably a fun dinner when Felix went home and he's like, hey, Drew, guess who I've got down there in...
Yeah,
in the barracks again?
Yeah, he's in the barracks. He's under house arrest of some kind.
You know that Paul guy?
Oh, that one that's been in the news everywhere?
Yeah, I got him down in the barracks. I'm pretty sure Drusilla wanted to go and meet with Paul.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a celebrity. He's a big deal. And so they go to hear he's been preaching, he's been speaking all over the Roman world. And so let's go hear what this guy has to say.
And so Paul's telling him about Jesus. And it says, as Paul talked about righteousness, self-control, and the judgment to come, Felix was afraid and said, that's enough for now. You can leave. I'm going to find it convenient. When I find it convenient, I'll send for you. So he's like, that's enough. I read that when Felix was afraid, he's convicted.
Uh-huh.
He's feeling conviction. There's truth.
He's actually hearing this.
There is truth in what Paul is saying. This isn't just some goofy guy. This is actually...
And it says back up in verse 22, but Felix, having a rather accurate knowledge of the way.
Yes.
So he actually knows what Paul's talking about when Paul is talking about following after Jesus and Christianity. Felix has a good understanding of that, and he's afraid because what Paul is saying makes sense.
Yeah. But I like this line also. He was hoping Paul would offer him a bribe. So he sent for him frequently and he talked with him. God will use your greed. That's what he's doing here. Felix is greedy. He wants a bribe, so he's holding Paul, but he has to talk to Paul, and he brings Paul in frequently, hoping that Paul will give him a bribe. But instead, he's hearing the truth. And it doesn't say whether or not Felix ever
we don't know.
accepted God. It says when 2 years passed, Felix was succeeded by Porcius Festus, a new player that you can look up also. But because Felix wanted to grant a favor to the Jews, he left Paul in prison. So Paul's still locked up. Interesting note, we're in this time, this 2-year period, we're pretty sure that's when Luke wrote the book of Luke, because Luke would have been in Caesarea.
Luke would have been one of the people that went to take care of Paul.
Yeah. So he's there. He's hanging out. He's making sure that Paul's fed and has his stuff. And Paul's stuck in prison for 2 years. He's
not in a dungeon someplace.
No, he's there.
He's kind of in a house arrest. He's in the barracks or somewhere. He can't go, but he's not abused.
But in the meantime, he's sharing the way with those around him.
And Luke, during this time, has 2 years here to go back and forth to the Sea of Galilee and interview the people involved and heard the Sermon on the Mount. He gets a chance to go down to Jerusalem, to Bethany, and to discuss with Mary, Martha, and Laz about what happened with those events. He talks to Bart, the formerly blind guy, and says, what happened on these days? And so that's when Luke has a chance to flesh out and pen all of these things, because for the most part, he's just kind of hanging out in Caesarea.
All right, and so we'll pick up there in our next session. Do you want to pray us out today?
Sure.
All right.
Father, thank you that, again, we have your word, and that you can teach us things that you, just in the same way that you provide. You saw to his safety. You saw him moving about according to the plan that you had set forth. You do the same for us in our lives. Sometimes we don't see it. Paul may not have seen it at this point in the game and known exactly why he was where he was, but he knew he was in your hands, and you had a plan, and you had things worked out for him. And we thank you for that. Be with us this week. Thanks, Father. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're interested in checking out more of our podcasts as they come available, please download our app in your device's app store or check us out on your podcast platform at Garden Valley Church. We look forward to seeing you next time.